How do you take a hot restaurant concept national without destroying it? Hello, this is Jonathan Mays, editor-in-chief of Restaurant Business, and this week's episode of A Deeper Dive features Chris Schultz, the CEO of Voodoo Doughnut. Voodoo Doughnut was started in Portland, Oregon several years ago and built a following with some ridiculous donuts like, well, we'll just let Chris tell you. The company was sold 8 years ago and is expanding through company stores. But making the jump from small, irreverent local concept into one that can work as far away as Miami is a very big challenge. In fact, it's very dangerous and can absolutely destroy chains and has done many times. But first, Voodoo had to do a few things to get ready for that growth. Chris talks about all of this and more on this week's episode of A Deeper Dive, so please check it out. All right, I'm here with Chris Schultz. Chris, welcome to the podcast.
Hey, thanks for having me on. I appreciate it. How are you?
Good. How are things at Voodoo Doughnuts?
Things are great at Voodoo Doughnut. We're growing. We've grown. We've got 23 locations with 3 under construction right now, and we're growing. We're going fast and having fun doing it.
Tell me the story.
Yeah, so I joined Voodoo 8 years ago. I was actually part of the Mod founding group, Mod Pizza, and with them for 8 years, grew from 1 to 350 when I left and came over to Voodoo 8 years ago. Now we had 4 locations. We took over for 2 crazy founders that were here, right? They built an iconic brand. I don't think they even realized they were marketers back in the day, but they were true marketers. And so we've really kind of grown the brand, and now, as I said, 23 locations. We're in 8 different states, and we've got 3 more on the way. Our first store in Miami coming soon, and our first 2 brick and mortar stores in LA coming in the next 60 days.
Mm-hmm. So, could you tell me a little bit about the history, how it got founded? It was before you joined, before.
Yeah, sure. There was two longtime friends. One was a bartender, one was a band promoter. Believe it or not, they weren't in the restaurant business, but they always wanted to do something, and they realized there was no donut shop in Portland, Oregon. And so they went down and trained themselves on how to make donuts and opened this little 2,000 square foot corner in downtown Portland 21 years ago, believe it or not. And they kind of set out doing wacky things, right? At one point in time, we did a NyQuil donut, a donut with NyQuil on it. And that really was their claim to fame. The federal government came in and said, hey, it's not just a recommendation. You can't put medicine on a food product. And like typical marketers, they were like, of course. And then they went right to the paper and said, look at the government's trying to shut us down. We're just 2 little donut guys trying to make a living. And then, they went on and made things like the bacon maple bar, right? They invented it. They brought bacon to work one day and just put on a maple bar. And Anthony Bourdain came through one day and kind of fell in love with the bacon maple bar. And they just did some really wacky things. And today we offer 41 different SKUs in our stores that range from everything from a glazed plain donut all the way up to the bacon maple bar, as we said. We do LTOs every month. We roll a new donut out, and it's been growing.
Mm-hmm. So a NyQuil donut.
Yeah. And a Pepto-Bismol donut back in the day. Both.
Pepto-Bismol donut.
Yeah.
Look, I've taken both of those products and I'm not necessarily, I don't get the face my wife makes whenever she takes NyQuil, but I'm not entirely certain. I think, what would make this better? So if I put it in a donut. I'm not sure that.
Yeah. They were true marketers back in the day. They just didn't know any better, and they wanted to make a name for themselves. And they thought, well, how do we do that? Let's offer these crazy donuts here in downtown Portland. And it's grown, and we're on every list of things to do when you come to Portland is to visit Voodoo Doughnut. We were voted just a year ago the #1 overrated tourist attraction in the country by USA Today. Right, a little donut shop in downtown Portland was voted the #1 overrated tourist attraction. But again, they just had this thought of making crazy donuts. And when you come into our shops, they're very different. We don't rack our donuts. We put them in jewel cases. There very often is a line to get in. And, our tagline, good things come in pink boxes.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, well, I can kind of see where the Pepto-Bismol would work, given the color scheme. But still, yeah. I bet you those things sold well.
As I'm told, they sold very well. People lined up to get them just because they were so unique and so different. But today we're operating the Denver airport, the Nashville airport, Universal Studios, City Walks, and then everywhere from Chicago down to Dallas and San Antonio and Austin. So, we're growing pretty quickly across the country, but we're not meant to be in every street corner. We're not the type of donut shop to be on every street corner. We really are a destination and event driven kind of. When you come to Voodoo, you're coming for an event and to get something special.
Let's talk a little bit about that. So how do you because the thing is, like, donut shops are, as have always, I probably don't need to tell you, it's always been a bit of a challenge from a growth standpoint. Is like, because usually, I mean, probably better than I do, like the mentality frequently in the restaurant business is we could put these things everywhere.
Right.
But there are certain concepts you can't really do that. And I think that donut shops are probably among them, especially one that sort of specializes in different types of donuts. I imagine the possibility that somebody would convince me, maybe with a few dollars, to try a Pepto-Bismol donut. I am not going to get a Pepto-Bismol donut every day.
Right.
Some donuts I absolutely would get every single day, but still.
Right.
I mean, no, me and maple bacon donut I would get probably with a little bit more frequency than a Pepto-Bismol donut. But the issue is that probably makes it a bit challenging to expand that. So how do you select locations, and talk a little bit about that?
Yeah, so it's very unique. Having come from businesses in my past, I said I was with Mod. Before that, I was at Starbucks for 13 years. So, both those brands were on every street corner, and everywhere you turn the corner, there was another one. When I came to Voodoo, it was really starting to think about how we can be unique, and it really is about a destination and an experience. So we tend to find ourselves on Randolph Street in Chicago, right? By the restaurants and bars and some tourism built into it. We do offer, again, a plain baked donut, cake donut along with the glazed donuts, which are really, really good. We make our donuts in-house. So our donuts never travel unless they go home with you. So we don't have commissaries who make them all fresh in-house. Most of our stores are open 24 hours. I say that 23 hours. We close from 3 a.m. to 5 a.m., but someone's there making donuts every day. So you're just about guaranteed when you go into Voodoo to get a fresh donut. But we find those hubs where, again, high foot traffic. We're in San Antonio right off the Riverwalk. We have one store in San Antonio, does really well. Where again, it's a nice attraction between hotel guests, tourism, restaurants, people going to movies, kind of event driven.
Mm-hmm. Are there certain metrics or certain data that you look for when you're opening in a location like that?
Yeah, we tend to look for what I define as entertainment centers, which is really high foot traffic. We obviously use, all those systems that are out there to provide information around foot traffic. But along with that happy mix of tourism, late night crowds, because we are open 24 hours a day. So we tend to do really, really well around restaurants or bars or those type of areas. We're on 6th Street in San Antonio, right? 6th Street in Austin, right? Packed full of bars and packed full of comedy clubs and such. So we do really well in those areas. But yet we also are down in Tempe, right off the ASU campus, where we paint all of our buildings pink. So when you look around and you see a pink building, it's probably going to be a Voodoo Doughnut.
Mm-hmm. So you get a heavy business at 1 a.m. from the drunk Austin bar crowd?
We do. Not only in Austin, but in Denver, as well as, in Dallas, we're down as well. So yeah, we get a pretty good steady flow of business. We're not your traditional 7 a.m. donut shop. I mean, we'll still get lines at 7 a.m., but we'll also see lines at 2 o'clock in the afternoon or 10 to midnight, at 10 to midnight as well.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. So how do you the thing is, like, if you're open all but like 2 hours of the day,
right?
Like, how do you've got to have some traffic late at night.
We do. I mean, the breakdown is we do about 25% of our business after 10 p.m. from 10 p.m. to 6 a.m. in the morning. So it's a pretty steady crowd. When you think about it, late night, who's open? The local taqueria or a drive-through, right? It's just something different to offer those late night folks that are still looking, that are hungry, want to get out.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Do you do heavy delivery business? I'd imagine.
We do very traditional. About 30% of our business comes through, third party and online ordering. But, prior to COVID, we were cash only business. We started taking credit cards a month before COVID hit.
What?
Yeah, believe it or not, we had no third party, no online ordering when I got here, but literally a month, and we were only taking cash. And a month before COVID opened, we introduced credit cards and online ordering. And it kind of worked out, thankfully.
Okay. So let's go back to that. So it was a cash business.
Yeah, all cash.
And it was a cash business for a long time.
For a very long time.
Right.
A very long time. Yeah, up until 8 years ago now, it was a cash only business. And, when we started to think about growing the business, one of the first things I got here, I was shocked. Cash only, right? Mm-hmm. How do you do online ordering? How do you do anything uniquely different? And so we implemented credit cards, I think in January, right before COVID hit in March. And thankfully, again, it wasn't like we had this forethought, but it was really the reality that hit for us. And, we closed a couple of stores during COVID, but all the stores stayed open. We're still operating them all. And thankfully, we're successful.
Mm-hmm. That's so, I mean, you ever have to do that before where you had to actually implement credit card processing?
Well, I did when I was at Mod, when we had one store, right? But trying to take a company with already, a $16 million company and try to implement credit cards into a system that never existed from POS all the way down. We had ATMs in all the stores, right? Which was a big business for us. And so, to remove that business and really supplement it with credit cards and third party really was a really tough decision for the founders. They're still part of the business. They sit on our board of directors. But yet, they realize in order to grow the business, we need to do that.
Right. That's it. I mean, that's actually an interesting point because so you basically had a 4-unit company that was making a certain amount of revenue from the ATMs that they had inside their restaurants. Right. And on top of that, then I hear there are fees attached to credit card usage, right. And those fees are a pain in the ass. But so you actually had to make the cognizant decision to give up certain amount of revenue that was working for the chain at that time.
Right. Yeah, absolutely.
And then opt for the pain in the ass part, which is credit card processing.
Well, it also made us unique, right? We were one of the only places that accepted cash only. And again, that very tough decision to move away from that because it was one of our calling cards along with all the financial side of it. But in order to grow the business, I think we all recognized that it was time for us to start taking credit cards. And again, thankfully, right before COVID, we implemented it and we were then prepared to kind of ride that wave through COVID.
Mm-hmm. Now, do you have any locations near college campuses? I hear the college kids stay out late.
We do. We have one in Eugene, so University of Oregon. We have one in Tempe, which is ASU, and we have one in Boulder, Colorado. So just off the University of Colorado campus. So we're in three college campuses. You could say Austin because UT's there. We're not too far from UT, but a little bit of variety of both college campuses, standalones, and then, like I say, 2 airport locations and 2 on Universal Studio City walks.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, well, I would imagine that given that 22 hour opening time, that would probably be a relatively fruitful source of locations for you is around college campus. I only say that because I have a kid in college, and we see his Uber Eats bill.
Yeah, I'm not sure where he goes, but yeah.
We know when that kid is eating.
Yeah. Yeah, the college campus, they like to get out. They like to get out late at night and get a dozen donuts to take home and after having enjoyed the earlier evening part. But we do really well there. We're opening currently down on Melrose and La Brea in LA, right next to Pink Hot Dogs. We'll open about 30 days from now. Again, high foot traffic, restaurants, clubs, all sorts of activities happening down there.
Mm-hmm. So let's talk a little bit about culture. So the founders are still involved. And this is an issue I've been thinking about a lot lately, is that, you have these emerging chains and they grow and they get popular and something about them pulls in customers. And any number of restaurant chains that you can think of usually had something that was really unique. I mean, you go back to McDonald's when it first emerged and it was fast and you got your food right away, which was completely novel at the time, or you got KFC with their fried chicken, or you go to, Chipotle with their giant burritos. There's something that pulls it. And then the challenge, I think, for the restaurant industry and for somebody like you is then you get somebody else comes in and takes over for the founders. And then that culture, that transfer of culture is one of the toughest things to continue in any sort of acquisition or professional management situation. How do you keep that culture as it continues to expand? The culture that sort of developed, that these guys developed sort of organically.
Yeah, I think we stay true to it, right? I mean, one of the big things I talk about is being authentic. I think part of culture-driven brands is being authentic and not trying to be something you're not. Voodoo was really built on having these very unique donut offerings, LTOs, rolling them out all the time, letting our employees be themselves, not having name tags, letting them play their own music in the stores. All of that came with the brand, right? And I think when I joined, my natural inclination had been coming from process-driven restaurant companies where like everything needs to look exactly the same. And I think I got this rude awakening of, hey, wait a minute, it can be a little bit different, right? You can allow it to be a little different. Let it breathe. But yet again, be very authentic. And that's kind of what we do here at Voodoo. We haven't changed very much from day one. I think the founders back in the day wanted to be the dive bar of donut shops. And I think we've stayed true to that a little bit in that we have a little bit of everything, a little offering for everything. And we've allowed our employees, again, to be themselves. The reality is our average turnover is about 1.5 years for our hourly employees and over 3 years for our managers. Right? People come to work here because they like to work here, because they love working here. And we take good care of them. And I think that's the strongest part of this in growth, is ensuring that you're being authentic and being true to what got you here and not trying to change too much up.
Mm-hmm. So do you have to spend a lot on innovation? I mean, what do you do there?
Well, we roll an LTO every single month. So we have a brand new donut rolls the first of every month. And I like to think it's very scientific, but really it's all done internally, where our group really looks at what's on trend and what's happening on trend. And we come up with 4 or 5 different ideas. We taste test them. And then every month we build out this calendar of having LTOs that'll roll each and every month out to the store. Some are great. Some are not so great. But it allows our folks to talk about something in our stores. We have over 250,000 followers on Instagram. And for a little donut shop, right, a little donut shop out of Portland, that's a pretty strong following.
Yeah. Is that something that was there when you joined, or you?
It wasn't. Yeah. Again, there's this little thing called the internet. Jonathan, I don't know if you're aware of it. I'm just learning about it. And Instagram and TikTok and all those things. But we have a full-time person who does nothing but that. I mean, her only job, Sarah, does a phenomenal job, but really stays focused on, Instagram and what's important. I just got yesterday someone told me over 40% of the folks that follow us don't live by a Voodoo. They're just following the brand because they dig the brand.
Yeah. Yeah.
And so how do you stay fresh to them and bring out different things? So in the store, innovation is very important for us. And I'll be honest, you're right. Before COVID, we weren't innovating very much, but coming out of COVID, we realized we had to go back to our core, which was doing interesting donuts every single month.
Mm-hmm. So, you guys are, one of the things that one word I would probably use to describe Voodoo Doughnut would be irreverent.
Yes.
And, some of these donuts, like, all right, so you got some pretty some benign ones, raised glazed and chocolate ring and Captain, Captain, my Captain, Grape Ape and Voodoo Bubble. All those are the bacon maple bar, which as you've already mentioned. And of course you got the Old Dirty Bastard. And then you got this, my favorite is Cock and Balls.
Oh, you're looking at the website.
Yeah, damn right. I'm looking at the website. I don't have a Voodoo Donuts in front of me.
Listen, we don't take ourselves too seriously. Mm-hmm. It's a donut. We're a donut company. We're a fun donut company. And part of it, we don't take ourselves too seriously. I think, listen, the world's serious enough. You don't have to take yourself so seriously when you come to a donut shop. But again, as you've spoken about, we have a little bit for everybody. So if you're a traditional raised glazed donut, great. If you're an ODB, great. If you happen to be a C&B, as we call it, a C&B donut lover, or a Thor's Hammer donut lover, we have that offering as well.
Now, what's your favorite?
Well, it's like asking my favorite kid, right? I have a favorite kid, but I can't tell you who it is.
Mention it publicly.
Well, we all do, right? We all have favorite kids. We just don't want to say it publicly. But my go-to is the bacon maple bar.
Yeah. Is that the top seller, or what is your top seller?
Yeah, that along with, a traditional raised glaze, believe it or not, is right up near the top. The Homer, which is the strawberry icing donut, is very popular. But, from marketplace to marketplace, the popular donut in Denver is not very popular in Houston. It's not very popular in San Antonio. So that way we have a little bit of offering for everybody. But we sell all the same donuts in every single store. So if you come to Voodoo, you're going to get the same donut no matter where you go.
So you said your history is you worked with Mod, and then before that, Starbucks. Did you take any lessons from those two companies? What kind of lessons did you take from those two companies to?
A lot of lessons, a lot of lessons. The Starbucks piece is, how do you grow big but stay small, right? At Starbucks, I was there almost 13 years. I think I started, there was 250 stores. I left, there was 20,000, right? And one of the big essence was, how do you grow big but stay small? How do you feel like the local coffee shop, but just have a big green logo out in front? And then with Mod, I started with one store. I was about 6 months after they opened the very first store, and stayed with them through about 8.5 years. So they grew to about 350, including 10 in the UK. And from there, it was really about being strategic about where you put locations and how do you open stores and keep the brand alive from store to store and ensure that your consistency is being driven, right? Consistency is important, right? You have to have good food. I mean, that's the ticket to the game. All the rest of it is noise if you don't have good food. And so for us, that was the Mod focus as well, is ensuring the foods, you got to start with the food, and then all the rest is peripheral that brings people in and people start to love the brand. But if you don't have good food, and that's what we do here at Voodoo, right? It's very important that our food is good, consistent from store to store.
Yeah. I mean, I would agree with you. Food is definitely important. No question. You have really good food will fix a lot of other errors. But those other issues are actually really, really important. The lesson I always use to me is Quiznos, for instance. In Quiznos, I love the subs at Quiznos and always have.
Yeah.
That did not have a business model that was effective. So you got to get the other issues right. I mean, location's really important. You got to make sure it's profitable. You got to be able to generate a return, no matter who is the one generating the return. And then you got to have operations inside the location are phenomenal. If you're running a bad shop, it's you can have that it doesn't matter how good that bacon maple bar is
right
if your stores are dirty and people don't like going there.
Yeah, and currently we're opening only company operated stores. So of the 23, we have the 4 licensed, but right now we don't franchise. So we're opening only company operated stores, which again allows us a little bit more control, right? As you know, right now, I can pick up the phone and change things in the 19 stores we have, or the 25 or the 30 stores we have. As you grow into franchise world, it gets a little different, but again, it's ensuring that you have the right people. I've got a great team. We brought some people from Mod over here with us and from different organizations that really understand what growth looks like and how do you grow people. We just had a job fair down in LA, and we attracted like 500 folks in 4 days for jobs. And so, there's something to be said then about the Voodoo name. And when people look it up and people follow it, they want to come work here. And that, I think, then transcribes in store to the customers that walk in. When the people at the counter are having a good time, it's hard for you to have a bad time.
Yeah. I mean, the best, really the best help wanted ad, so to speak, is just to have a really good concept in the restaurant business.
I think so. So. When you walk in, if good things are happening.
Right. What's the future plans then? Like, where do you expect to be in 5 years?
Well, listen, we're taking it 1 year at a time, given where the world's at, and given what the restaurant business is at right now. I mean, I think to really think out, somebody asked me the other day, what challenges will occur in the next 5 years to restaurants? And I laughed because they asked me 10 years ago or 5 years ago, we're in the middle of COVID. Who would have thought we'd have that? And all the things that came out of COVID, right? Ghost kitchens, everyone's going to drive through, you have a walk-up window. I would challenge you, where are all those ideas now? Right there. So, for us, we'll probably end this year at 30 stores when we're finally done and we head into 2026. And I think very strong, steady growth, ensuring we're opening, successful stores in successful neighborhoods.
No. So if you're opening company stores, where's the funding coming from?
Well, we have an equity group. Fundamental Capital is our equity group that purchased Voodoo or purchased the majority of ownership in Voodoo 8 years ago. And, they're working hard to bring the money forward for us. And again, we're not opening on every street corner, right? We're being very strategic, opening one-off stores in markets. We'll have one store in Miami in the Wynwood district. When you're opening one store, you can take funds and really focus on what you want to do with those stores versus trying to open hub and spoke and open 10 stores in a particular DNA in less than 6 months, like we did at Mod or like we did at Starbucks.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. 8 years is a long time though for private equity ownership.
It is a long time. And I wish I had the magic wand that I could tell you, 3 years from now, we've got an exit plan. I think right now we're trying to open successful stores and really bringing the brand as it grows. We've seen success now growing out of the Portland market where we're located. We're successful in Chicago, San Antonio, Houston, Austin. So the brand has some legs. So who knows what the next chapter looks like?
Yeah. Yeah. Does social media help when you're opening locations so far away? Like Miami is not exactly close to Portland.
Yeah, it's not. Yeah, no, listen, social media is the number one thing for us. We don't spend any money on outside agencies for marketing. Everything's done internally, which is kind of a shock for us, right? It's very different from a lot of brands. But, we opened in Seattle just 3 months ago, and we had lines out the door for the first week, and every news crew came out for the opening. It's just the brand really has legs, and people want to come visit Voodoo Doughnut.
Well, I guess that helps. Chris, this was fantastic. I really appreciate you joining me.
I appreciate your time.
And that should do it for this week's episode of A Deeper Dive, which was edited, as always, by Spoons. Artwork by Nico Hines. You may find this and other episodes of the podcast on our website at www.restaurantbusinessonline.com/article/deeper-dive. And you may subscribe on Apple Podcasts or Spotify. I'm Jonathan Mays, your host and the editor-in-chief of Restaurant Business. Thank you for listening.